Avery Bradford. I'm head of programming and events for Female Founder Collective, the 10th House, and the North. And if this is your first event with us and you have no idea what any of those words mean, that's okay. Female Founder Collective is our nonprofit branch. You may have seen we've raised funds for fire relief in Los Angeles. We also have the North, which is our one-on-one advisory platform where you can set up calls with angel investors, VCs, CMOs, COOs, people who have been there, done that, and have the advice you need to scale your business. And then we also have the 10th House, which is our private membership community. We have a cohort model. So about every 2 months, we focus on a different industry. Right now, we are focused on health and wellness. So that's things like supplement brands, yoga studios, fitness studios, gyms, health tech, apps and services, athleisure and athletic wear, and wellness products and lines, and really everything under the health and wellness umbrella. And if you are within that space and you're looking for access to our private events, today this is a public event. We've given everyone access to it, but we have a ton of in-person and virtual events that are for members only. If you're interested in those, just apply by March 20th for that cohort. And if you're not a part of that cohort, just keep an eye out for the one that makes the most sense for you. And then, yes, I see, Lily, your question, will this be in the portal? Yes, if you are a 10th House member, I am recording this. I will have it inside of Circle, inside of the 10th House by the end of this week. So by tomorrow, yes, you're welcome. And then on that note, a lot of you sent in questions ahead of time. If you did not and you are wanting to get a question asked, this is a workshop, so it's interactive. Pop your questions in the chat anytime. I'll be moderating today's conversation with Anna, so you won't see me, but you'll hear me. Come on and ask any questions that you do have. We got a ton of great ones when you RSVP'd. But let me make sure I don't have any other announcements. Oh, I'll see you all hopefully March 13th in New York for Female Founders Day. And then after Female Founders Day and before, we have a ton of member-only events happening. So keep your eye out for those emails. But I'm so excited for today's conversation. This, as always, came out of our member requests. When you become a member of the 10th House, we say, what are your current pain points and goals? Landing retailer partnerships was one of our number one areas that people were looking for us to address over the last several cohorts. So we have brought in experts to lead a conversation on the subject matter. So speaking of the experts, I'm going to pass it over to Anna to kick us off.
Thank you, Avery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Prospect to Partnership, how to get in front of the largest retailers and build lasting relationships. I'm really excited to be here with you today as part of the Female Founder Collective. And as an LA resident, Avery, I know you mentioned this just a moment ago, but it really is an honor to be working with the group who did so much for the fire relief effort. As women entrepreneurs, you all know the challenges of growing a business, wearing multiple hats, and breaking into new markets, especially retail. But I'm here to let you know that you don't have to do this on your own. And as Avery mentioned, a lot of people sent in some great questions. So I quickly wanted to address Daria's question that came in overnight about what stage business this is for. Honestly, it really depends. I think this can be for brands that are pre-launch, but just barely, like you're approaching the finish line. Also, additionally, brands that are maybe more established, but have focused primarily on small boutique retail partnerships and their web store. If you fall into either of these categories, I really hope this speaks to you. And if you're not, if maybe you're in an earlier stage, hopefully this will give you some ideas for how to move forward. So let's talk about how I can help you navigate the complex world of retail relationships. Before we do that, I should probably introduce myself to everyone. I'm Anna Trumbo, the head of customer success at DigiBridge. I work with many clients at various stages of business growth to figure out the right strategies for them, and I'm passionate about helping brands like yours build strong strategic retail relationships. But outside of that, this list pretty much sums me up. If anyone wants to talk about how the Dodgers are looking this year, hit me up after the presentation. As we move through the presentation, I'm going to ask some questions and ask that you put your answers in the chat. So my first questions are, before today, had you heard of any specific strategies or tools to help you get your products in front of retailers? And what do you hope to learn today to accomplish this? Today's agenda, we are going to try and demystify the process of landing retail buyers, crafting a pitch that stands out, and using digital commerce to streamline your success. By the end of the session, you'll have a clear, actionable roadmap to take your brand from pitching to partnering with the biggest names in retail. So let's dive in. I want to start off by introducing you to a few incredible women who transform their businesses through retail partnerships. These stories aren't just about their wins, but the strategies they use to get them. Meet Julianne Bartolotta, a true inspiration for brands that are looking to scale their business. Julianne understood early on that major retailers look for seamless integration with brands. She expanded beyond her web store and boutique events, leveraging digital commerce solutions to meet the expectations of major retailers like Macy's and Faire. Her key strategies included an omni-channel sales approach with a web store, a presence in boutique stores and major retailers, leveraging digital commerce tools to ensure her product information was organized, accurate, and accessible, as well as strategic partnerships, positioning herself as an ideal retail partner by aligning with retailer goals. Julianne's success proves that when you position yourself as an easy to work with brand, retailers will take notice. For luxury brands breaking into high-end retail, it takes more than just beautiful products. It takes the right strategy. When fine jewelry designer Sarah Weinstock partnered with Nordstrom, she knew it would be a game changer. But the real challenge was scaling her operations, managing demand, and strengthening retail relationships. That's where we at DigiBridge came in by leveraging streamlined order processing, real-time sales insights, and an agile supply chain. Sarah saw triple-digit growth in sales at a significant drop to her return rate. If you are a growing brand looking to connect with retail buyers, remember that landing that first order is just the beginning. Your real success comes from setting yourself up for long-term growth with the right tools and strategies. And last but not least, we have Katie Daniel, the CEO of Nux Active. Nux had an established wholesale business and was growing their D2C presence when they began using DigitBridge for business operations, which allowed them to successfully manage their inventory across all of these sales channels, as well as break into new order, combining their experience as wholesalers with an e-com strategy. Quickly, for those of you who aren't familiar with New Order, it's a B2B e-commerce platform that connects brands and retailers. It can be a really complex platform to do business on, however, and you need to make sure that you're technologically ready to do so. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. Okay, back on topic. In addition to that, they were able to launch Riley 7, a second brand for athleisure at a lower price point. They currently manage both brands at the same time in the same system, each selling on various sales channels and different retailers. So, how do you replicate this success? Let's break down the strategies that helped Julianne, Sarah, and Katie, and countless other women build lasting retail partnerships. We're going to follow a clear roadmap to take you from understanding your audience to building lasting relationships with buyers. First of all, I'm curious, how many of you feel unsure about how to even begin connecting with retail buyers? What has been your biggest challenge so far when it comes to reaching out to them? Go ahead and put some answers in the chat. While we understand that all businesses are different and there really is no one-size-fits-all solution that can blanket everyone, this roadmap can apply across a lot of different industries, varying business sizes, etc., and is a solid foundation to build on and adapt to your own operational needs. This roadmap in 3 phases is going to guide you from understanding your audience to scaling with major retailers. So phase 1, establish your foundation. Phase 2, align with the right retail partners. And phase 3, establish seamless operations. So we're going to look a little bit deeper into each one of these.
And I wanted to share, Anna, before we move on, we've got some great
Yeah.
is happening in the chat. You asked about challenges that people are having, and I just wanted to share a couple. One is
Sure.
knowing who to reach out to, the title of the individual buyer, no responses from outreach, standing out from the competition. Biggest challenge is hesitation due to payment problems plaguing the industry. Let's see here. What retailers are just understanding what retailers are looking for and not hearing back after sending emails. So we're getting a lot of responses there. Thought that would be helpful to know.
No, this is great. I mean, all of these, some of the questions that we actually got are not the most flattering to major retailers because, to be honest, they're really great partners, but also sometimes you can get a little lost in the mix because they have so many different brands that they work with. We can talk a little bit in the Q&A section at the end of that. Some of them are almost like a necessary evil. I don't want to say evil, but you know what I mean. So we can get a little more into that at the end, but I am interested in seeing all of these, especially like the not getting a response after that first email. That's a big one that we've seen for other people, but we can talk about different strategies to get past that. All right, so phase one is going to begin with the basics, establishing your brand identity. It is pretty basic stuff, but you might be surprised at how many entrepreneurs with a fantastic product, they skip this crucial step in their excitement to move forward. So figuring out your brand vision and values, your purpose, for example, maybe it's sustainability or innovation, your design aesthetic, logo, packaging, etc., and your unique selling proposition. For example, maybe ethical sourcing. All of this is fundamental to the success of your brand and an unskippable step. Next, you need to define your market and audience. This includes identifying the target audience, so demographics, behaviors, preferences, conducting market research, analyzing competitors, trends, and demands, and developing customer personas, which are profiles representing ideal customers. So let's say that you have a jeans brand. This is an incredibly competitive and somewhat overcrowded space. So it's critical that you know what gap your product fills in the market. At a higher price point, you might be pitching to a premium retailer, in which case you'll want to emphasize product quality, exclusivity, and customer demand. With a more affordable product line, you'll probably be pitching more to big box retailers who want to hear focus on competitive pricing, scalability, and supply chain efficiency. Each ideal customer persona is going to have different needs and goals, and it's your job to figure out what each one wants to hear. I wanted to call out Maddie, who had a question that came in overnight about pitching a luxury home decor product without focusing solely on price. So quality of materials, a compelling backstory, some really interesting details regarding the craftsmanship and the process of making things. These are all aspects you can focus on, as well as letting the retailer know you aren't pitching this to many, many potential partners. Like you're really focusing on just a few select strategic partnerships. These are all different ways we can talk a little bit more about this offline, but it was a very interesting question. You also had a question about made to order items, and that's something we do have some experience with, and I'd love to connect with you maybe after the presentation to talk a bit more about that. Because we could talk a long time about that, but I want to make sure that we're staying on topic. After that, it's time to perfect your product or offering. So this includes refining your product or service to address specific customer pain points, setting pricing strategies, so looking at competitive and profitable models, and ensuring sustainable product sourcing and development. This last one is more and more important with every year that goes on. The strongest strategy and pitch is going to fall flat if you don't have a compelling product or service to back everything up. With the foundations taken care of, we can move to phase two, which is aligning with the right retail partners. It sounds kind of obvious, but the first step would be identify your ideal retail partners. So this involves analyzing retailer portfolios by studying their existing product lines and brands, researching retail presentation, their online and offline merchandising, pricing and marketing, and evaluating a potential partnership alignment. In other words, do you have a shared target audience and values? When you walk the floor of one of these stores, can you see your product on display there? A spray and pray tactic is not going to work here. It's important that you figure out who you really want to and should partner with and go after just a select few rather than setting your scope too broadly. The next step in phase two involves understanding the retail partner needs. There are several components to this, but most importantly, you will need to match retail calendars, meaning aligning your strategies with retail trends and seasonality, conduct in-depth market research on retailer preferences and customer profiles, and analyze the retailer's ideal buyers to ensure product alignment with their customer base. So these ideal buyers will likely have a lot of similarities or even direct overlap with the ideal customer personas I talked about a couple of slides ago. But each retailer's audience looks a little bit different, and it's important to acknowledge these nuances when you're moving forward. This is an example of a retail calendar. Specifically, this one is a production calendar, breaking up the year into seasons and assigning tasks for each season to specific weeks of the year. Aside from production scheduling, though, different retailers will also expect different lead times. When are you going to send me my concepts? When are you going to send me this season's line sheet? When are you going to send me something I can use to prepare for my store setup? You have to match their expectations. Like if you sell winter coats, you can't wait until the fall. You're going to have to start months and months beforehand. Each retailer has different requirements, and you need to be keenly aware of the deadlines of each. So once you're up and running with even one major retailer, you'll likely be living and dying by one of these calendars. If you do have more questions about this, you can drop your email in the chat and we can connect afterwards. Now, this one is super important, crafting the perfect pitch. Your pitch is your golden ticket. It's what separates you from every other brand vying for attention. At a high level, you will be showcasing alignment with a line sheet, referencing market trends to demonstrate demand and relevance, and telling your brand's story. So let's break down how to create a pitch that resonates with retail buyers. Before we do that really quick, what are some things you feel unsure? What are some things you feel unsure about when it comes to making your pitch to a retail buyer? Put your answers in the chat, please. All right, here are the elements of a perfect pitch and what we're going to show you in the next few slides. An inspiring story, deep knowledge of your retail buyer, proof of operational fit, a smooth presentation structure, scheduled next steps and prompt follow-ups, and a stellar line sheet. A successful pitch is a balance of passion and precision. So lead with your story, why your brand exists, and then back it up with clear, compelling product information and pricing. Retailers primarily want to know why your product will sell and why you're the right partner to deliver it. I'll talk about this more a little later on, but it's vital that you tailor your pitch to the partner themselves. It's similar to tailoring your resume for a job that you're applying for, like looking at the job posting and adding key phrases, adjusting the way you present your metrics. They all want to hear, why do you want to work here? And not just, why do you want a job? Start with why you created the product or what inspired you to bring it to market. People love to be told a story. This both humanizes your pitch and makes it memorable. What you see on the screen right now is a good example. Our in-house brand, Standards and Practices, is dedicated to size inclusivity. Another example that has stuck with me was a business owner named Carrie, who actually attended the last one of these that I hosted. I don't know if she's here today, but she started a glasses company called Memori, Memori Eyewear for people with narrow faces. Basically, the story that she told was that she was sick of sunglasses that fell off her face every time she would tilt her head forward, so she decided to do something about it. Why does this work? Buyers don't just buy products, they buy into the story and the people behind them. So besides identifying something as a gap in the market, it's also really nice to know why you care. Knowing the buyer inside and out, this is where you get to show off your domain knowledge and position yourself as an expert. So there are three key elements to this. First, you'll have to research their business, understanding the retailer's product mix, target customer, pricing strategy, and competitive landscape. Next, identifying gaps. Spot any product gaps or opportunities where your offering fits perfectly. And then tailor your pitch. Customize your messaging to align with their brand values and customer preferences. Remember the resume analogy? If there are certain key phrases or buzzwords that they use on their website or in their marketing materials, try to organically work them in. Convince them that you want to partner with them specifically and not just anyone. Make them feel special. All of this shows that you've dedicated time and effort with your research and that your brand aligns with their vision. Why does this work? Buyers want brands that enhance their shelves and reflect their customers' lifestyles. And as a bonus, it never hurts to reference current market trends to demonstrate demand and relevance and also look like a smarty pants in the best possible way. So landing a retail partnership is just the first step. Success depends on whether your operations can support retailer requirements. Buyers want to see that you can fulfill orders reliably, meet demand spikes, and stay compliant with their logistical processes. One key factor is MOQ, or minimum order quantity. Many retailers will start with small test buys before committing to a larger rollout, so it's important to have flexibility in your supply chain to accommodate both small and large orders efficiently. Lead times are also a major consideration. Retailers often work on tight schedules, expecting inventory to arrive on time for seasonal launches or promotions. Having clear visibility into your production and fulfillment timeline will help you avoid costly delays or chargebacks. Logistics and compliance can also be make or break factors. Most major retailers have strict routing guidelines that dictate how products should be labeled, packaged, and shipped. EDI, which stands for Electronic Data Interchange, is a common requirement for seamless order processing and invoicing. As retail evolves, brands need to be omnichannel ready. If anyone here attended our last webinar, we talked about this at length. Some retailers may require bulk shipments to warehouses, while others might expect you to support dropshipping or marketplace fulfillment. Being prepared for multiple fulfillment models can make your brand more attractive to buyers. But finally, you need to be sufficiently tech proficient. You'll need the technological infrastructure in place to navigate this digital space. Many retailers work on certain platforms, such as Disco or Rhythm. There are a lot of them, and you need to be set up to do business on those platforms. By understanding and preparing for these operational factors, brands can position themselves as strong retail partners and scale successfully. A few of you actually asked the same or a variation on the same question, which is how do I know if and when I'm ready to work with a big retailer? There are a lot of factors to consider, but I would actually consider this slide as the clincher. It's usually one of the last things that business owners get in place, at least in our experience, which is fine as long as it's before you start with that retail partner. Vicky, Lauren, Sarah, and Samantha are people that asked that question or something similar to it. And I would be happy to connect with you, each and every one of you offline. So we can maybe chat about more like where you're at with developing your brands, what step you're at in the journey, and maybe we can help strategize a timeline for you. What does the structure of the perfect pitch look like? It depends on if the pitch will be delivered live or via email, but regardless of which it is, you'll need a hook, product overview with a strong value prop, proof of concept, and a clear call to action. If it's an in-person or video call pitch, it should look something like the following. You've got about 15 to 30 seconds for the hook and storytelling. You want to open with a bold statement or compelling story. You've got 1 to 2 minutes for a product overview. describing the product's features, benefits, and the competitive edge. 1 to 2 minutes for a proof of concept. You want to share historical sales figures, customer testimonials, or market trends. And then a call to action. You want to make a clear and specific ask. For example, a trial order, a category review meeting, anything of that sort. And similar, but a little bit different to the in-person pitch, if you are emailing your pitch, the structure should look a little like this. You're going to want a subject line, hook, product info, proof of concept, line sheet, and call to action. To break that down, you need a click-worthy subject line. Someone mentioned not having their emails opened or answered. Sometimes I've used ChatGPT actually to find like what are some of the most clickable subject lines. That actually changes because sometimes people use the same things over and over and people get sick of seeing them in their inbox. So that's actually kind of a moving target. And it's important to stay on top of what different aspects of a subject line might increase clickability. Inside the email, you want a hook, grab their attention right away. You want the info presented in an inverted pyramid. You want the most important info at the top, proof of concept and fit, which we spoke a little bit about, and then a line sheet. People love visuals and they will need visuals of your product. So either include a line sheet or maybe a link to a digital line sheet. And then finally, a call to action. You're going to make that clear, specific ask, trial order, category review meeting. So even if your pitch is done live, you're going to be expected to deliver collateral. If you do a presentation, maybe send them a copy of the slide deck and your line sheet. If you're in person, not on a video call, it might help to have a printed copy or a few to hand out. Real quick, have any of you ever tried to pitch a product to a buyer but didn't get a response? I know some people said that earlier, that that's been an issue. What do you think went wrong and what might you do differently next time? This is probably the most overlooked and low-key the most important step. You always want to send a follow-up email shortly after your pitch, so you're still fresh in their minds. Standard email etiquette would apply. Try to find addresses for everyone in the pitch meeting and include them all in your email. This would be an opportunity to share any other relevant collateral as well. If you are in the midst of doing a lot of pitching, I would create an email template that you can tweak based on the recipient and maybe throw in a reference to a conversation that took place. You want to be memorable for the right reasons. This kind of harkens back to an earlier slide. They're not just buying your product, they're buying you. And you can't forget to set next steps with your main point of contact. I make it a point while I'm onboarding a new client to never get off a call without scheduling the next one, or at least assigning different action items with the knowledge that when they are complete, we will schedule a call to check in. Have any of you ever used a line sheet before to present your products? If not, what do you imagine a good one would look like? What kind of information do you think it is most important to include? Go ahead and throw your answers in the chat. So last but absolutely not least, line sheets. A line sheets, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, is a document that includes product images, descriptions, color and size options, and wholesale prices. And these are used by suppliers and manufacturers when presenting their products to buyers or retailers. While these used to be printed out on fancy glossy paper and mailed or either hand delivered to retailers, digital line sheets have become the essential tool for wholesalers looking to connect with major retail buyers efficiently. The difference between an old version and a digital line sheet is that the digital line sheet is an interactive cloud-based document that showcases the brand's product lineup, making it easier for buyers to browse, select, and purchase items for their stores. Unlike a traditional PDF or printed out catalog, digital line sheets are dynamic, they are visually appealing, and they are always up to date. It's also another opportunity to maybe tailor your pitch by perhaps highlighting key products that complement a retailer's portfolio. There are some great resources available to create and manage your line sheets, but several of them are extremely cost prohibitive, like $20,000, and very difficult to manage without prior experience. As an aside, it is shockingly easy to create a stunning and effective digital line sheet using DigitBridge with no design experience needed. I'd be happy to offer a demo to anyone who's interested. We can definitely connect after this. After learning more about crafting a pitch and creating line sheets today, what is the first action you plan to take to move forward with retail buyers? Put your answers in the chat. I'm interested in seeing this. And finally, we are on to phase 3, establishing seamless operations. Right out of the gate, this means you need to be technologically ready. To be more specific, you'll have to adopt tools that integrate with retailer systems, invest in scalable technology, and optimize operations, which in other words means streamline everything. I've talked a little bit about this on an earlier slide. While it's great to be in partnership with a big retailer, if you can't do business with them from a technological standpoint, they'll likely cut bait right away. If orders are missed and there's notable customer dissatisfaction, it's one strike, you're out. Another key factor in the long run is to negotiate and build lasting relationships. Before going live, you'll need to negotiate terms, pricing, order minimums, payment schedules, etc., that are beneficial to both parties. You'll align on logistics to ensure smooth order fulfillment and supply chain coordination, and you'll set clear expectations, defining roles and responsibilities for long-term success. Department stores require different margins than marketplaces and channels such as Walmart. So every partnership can look different. But in any case, it's important to take a long view and think about how these terms will look 6 months down the road or 6 years down the road. If all of this sounds overwhelming, I'm not going to lie, it absolutely can be. But to be successful digitizing your business, implementing automation, running your digital commerce, managing your inventory, and so on, we'll need a tool to be an effective partner with major retailers. And we, of course, hope that you consider DigitBridge as your solution. No matter which business operating system you go with, you will need robust retailer integration. As an example, DigitBridge helps brands meet compliance requirements for major retailers. It automates data sharing, reduces error and delays, and provides analytics to track performance and optimize your sales strategies. These are features you're going to want buttoned up regardless of how you choose to manage these retail partnerships. I do want to wrap up by highlighting one of our applications that is extremely relevant to the topic of this presentation, and that is product information management, or otherwise known as a PIM system. Having this or something like it is critical to ensuring accurate, organized, and up-to-date product data across all retail channels. With a powerful PIM, brands can centralize all of their product data in one easy-to-use system. They can ensure consistency across retailers by automatically syncing updates to product descriptions, SKUs, and images. They can integrate seamlessly with retail platforms to speed up approvals and reduce costly errors. And they can gain valuable insights with built-in analytics that track performance and optimize your sales strategies. With PIM, your brand is going to be retail ready, making it easier to expand your reach and to maintain compliance with major retailers. In summary, breaking into retail takes strategy, persistence, and the right tools. By implementing these techniques and leveraging digital commerce solutions, you position your brand for long-term retail success. For any FFC members who would be interested in learning more about DigitBridge, we are offering a free consultation, a discounted onboarding fee, and yours truly as your dedicated account manager. I really hope today's session gave you clarity and confidence in your retail journey. The right partnerships are within reach. You just need the right approach and tools to make them happen. And if you're ready to take your brand to the next level, I would absolutely love to chat with you. I do want to open up now to some questions if anyone has some, or Avery, if you saw some back earlier on in the chat.
Yep, I absolutely did. So let me go back through. I put a pin next to some of them. And I know we have Justin, Steve, and Anna here to answer questions. So Steve and Justin, if any of these are geared towards you, just feel free to unmute yourself. But this one is from Jesse, and that is, how do I set a reasonable MOQ? And MOQ is minimum order quantity.
Got it. I'm actually going to defer to Steve on that. Steve has a ton of experience with major retailers and merchandising and all of that. Steve, do you have insight into that particular question?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Hagstrom. I work with Anna and Justin and the DigitBridge team, and I run several apparel brands, some of which would have been included in the presentation here. And the important thing is when you're getting started on your business, it's as you develop your product, you've got to be able to come up with, what you envision it's selling for. Then you have to align yourself with somebody who can produce the merchandise that you envision and to get into a price point. And sometimes you have to work into that backwards. Minimum order quantities, factories are going to generally want more orders. Big is better from a manufacturing standpoint. It brings the cost down. So you've got to find how much can you afford to live with and have a factory say, what's the price if I buy 100 pieces? What's the price if I buy 1,000 pieces? And because you're going to have to commit to the factory on behalf of your product. So what you want to get is your price range to see if the price for 100 pieces fits within your business strategy, and is there room in there for you to make a profit? Because profit is not a bad word. You need to be able to incorporate that into your business, or else you won't last a year if you're not making any kind of profit.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve. Okay, this next one is from Annette, and that is, I'm still unsure about how to even make first contact from a pitch perspective. Are we cold pitching? Do we need an in? Or are brokers the only option?
Sorry, what was the last part? Are what the only option?
Are brokers the only option?
Broker's the only option. I can take a little stab at this, and then I definitely want Steve or Justin to jump in. A lot of it is going to be cold pitching, but if you do have, of course, it's always easier if you have an in. If you know of any other brands selling on these platforms that have good relationships with them, those kind of introductions can be really helpful. Steve, do you have any additional, maybe more detailed insight into that?
Yes, there's several ways to approach, your target customer. Once you've identified your product and your vision and kind of crafted your message, you then go to approach, your designated retailer, the one that you feel is right. An example, you could go onto that brand's or that retailer's site, and you go to contact us at the bottom of their website. You can go in and you'll ask for your information, your email, your brand name. So usually you have an opportunity to attach a PDF to be able to show them your line sheet. And this is it's the normal route to go in to get in there. We did the exact same thing getting our brand into Target. I sent them a line sheet with this particular product that we have, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I had the merchant from that particular category emailing me, learning more about the brand and why I felt there was a fit. Then, long story short, 30 days later, we're up and running. So going to the website is one place. Having a referral or a sales rep or an agent that might know how to have access with that is always another way to go, but they're always going to want a percentage of your business and fees accordingly. The other thing, and this is kind of a hunting method, you can go into LinkedIn, you can identify people that work in those organizations in the product category that you deal with and that you target. You can approach them through LinkedIn, or you can approach them through the organization. So there's multiple ways to do that, and I'm happy to get in and to talk to anybody offline about how to best do that based on their product. It requires some patience, but it is very doable. And again, as long as you're passionate about what you've created and you have a little patience, there are ways to get into all kinds of different channels. And the thing that I would share with you is we build our Vibes brands, and I've been able to get them into 20 or 30 different digital channels, all of which are set up and operational and accessible through DigitBridge. And so that's one of the key advantages, is we know how to navigate it because we've already done that. And so that's one of the services that obviously we would add to any kind of business relationship with you.
I can add one more thing onto that, if I may. I'm reading a lot of comments, and we hear a lot about this from our customers, that they're very early stage. They're just building their brand. Are they capable of working with these big department stores, whether it's Target or Nordstrom, etc.? One thing we always advise people, people don't need to know you're up and coming and just starting out. If you have a beautiful website, which I've checked out some of the websites in the chat, they all look fantastic, and you present yourself very well in your pitch, where you're talking about some of the things we've covered in this presentation, just the story, your vision as a founder, how you're operationally ready, how you can support a business relationship with these companies by being dropship capable. All they're doing is seeing how professional you are in your pitch. They're seeing your line sheet, how beautiful your product is. They're probably going to your website to scope you out. And if your website looks great, then you look like a great partner for them. So they're not even going to even realize that maybe you're just starting out or you're just getting some traction. As long as you look credible and put a good presentation forward, then you'll get the meeting, you'll get the conversation. One thing we talked earlier about brokers and things of the sort, relationships are important. And even if you can get a warm introduction, which is always best, nothing beats a warm introduction in life. But your product is really what's going to get you into the store. It's not going to be the introduction or the relationship you have. It's your product and your ability to be a good business partner.
The other thing that I would chime in on what Justin just mentioned is retailers need to differentiate themselves. Nordstrom needs to respond differently and to their customers than the way Macy's does, or the way Kohl's does. And Nordstrom wants customer service, high unique products and imagery. So part of that is, again, finding where you best fit. But every retailer, each season, they allot a certain number of slots or positions for new brands. They don't necessarily know if the brand is 3 weeks old or whether you're 3 years old and how much your volume is. They allot these spots for new brands to try. They will load, and if you get their attention and you seem to respond to whether their customer would like it, then they're happy to add you, give you an opportunity to perform. And usually it starts with e-com, and before they're going to give you store business, but yet they will watch you, and if you perform and you provide new product and it's a good seamless shopping experience and you make money and they make money, they're going to want you to continue to be able to do that. And so it's proof of performance. And in a case, one of the small views that Anna showed you for standards and practices, we started an e-com business with Nordstrom 10 years ago, and we're still up and running in that business. And so there is a loyalty factor as you perform, and you have to be able to deliver your product, but you also have to have the saleable product. So you need both factors to really have long-term success.
This is so helpful. And I'm seeing questions come in. I'm going to take ones that we've got earlier. Just on that note, Steve, you mentioned attaching the line sheet to that contact form. Kiona asks, do retailers read through retail pitch decks, or should we only send the line sheets?
I would say the vision for your product, what's inspired you to create it and to take it and to spend your money to be able to do that. That passionate component is very important to connect with, and will their customers connect with it? So you don't want to send them everything you got, but I would say, the line sheet could have your brand message, your story, and then show the product. But you want to get the hook as to who am I, what is my vision and message, and why I'm putting my money and effort into this project. And so it's a snapshot. Then behind the snapshot, then you show the specific products of, here are my 25 items that I have. And the thing I would encourage all of you is, retailers are always looking for new vendors, new merchandise. And just think of yourself as a consumer. Okay. When you go to a site, where's the first place you go? It's usually new arrivals. What's new, what's fresh, what's a reason for me to buy? Because after all, we're all consumers. We consume product, and that's what drives our economy. So if you've got something that's new and exciting, people will respond. And that's the first place they're going to go. So if you show your first season of maybe your first 12 items, and then another 30 days later, you load in your next things, you've got new arrivals, and you're always in that search where people are coming to look at it. And that's how you build your brand.
Extremely helpful, and I'm seeing people echo that in the chat. Justin, you mentioned, having a beautiful website and showing that you're credible and that you're established in that way. We have folks asking, how important is it for you to have, a large social following for that pitch?
Can I start with that? And then Justin, if you have more to add.
Yeah.
I think I always give this answer, so I'm going to qualify it afterwards, but it really does depend. I think if you have a small social media presence, but you have a lot of really strong customer testimonial, or you have compelling metrics to show, sales data, the sales growth year over year, it might not be as important. But having someone, like, if you can get an influencer to use or in any way promote your product, that would be huge. One thing I will say as a warning is, buying followers can be a bit of a pitfall, because if you have a really large, like you have 600,000 followers, but you have really low engagement on your posts, a lot of people will look at that as a negative. So having organic growth is much more important. But yeah, it depends. I mean, again, if you have customer testimonial or other data that you can present, it is less important, but it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think of course it helps, right? If you have a vast number of followers, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, retailers are going to love to see that. That's more attention that they're getting to their site. But it's certainly not critical by any means. So for example, Julianne, who's one of our customers who signed up with Macy's, she has less than 3,000 followers on her Instagram. So it's not a critical component. Macy's just like the brand. She put a good pitch, she put a good story forward. She had a good story about the brand, and she got accepted pretty quickly. So not a critical factor. If you don't have a ton of followers, don't let it dissuade you. But obviously, the more you have, that's another notch in the belt for you to promote to potential retailers.
Amazing. Okay, I think
And I will say one more thing, if I may. I'm sorry, Avery, just to respond to another question. I saw Malika had mentioned, Target will eventually ask for your PLN and your financials. That's totally correct. We talked about getting your foot in the door. One thing that we always encourage from people is, we're just trying to get a response here for that first initial cold outreach. It's no different than applying for a job. You apply for a job, and we're working with founders here, and you haven't applied for a job in a long time as successful entrepreneurs. But when you're in the job applying phase, you just want a response. You just want an opportunity to tell your story and talk about your credentials. This is very similar. I know we've seen some things in the chat about people who have emailed buyers from different stores, and there's no response. That can be fairly common. But one thing we're trying to do is get that initial response, put a great foot forward, show how beautiful your brand is, regardless of what industry you're in, and get an opportunity to pitch your product. And again, if a retailer enjoys your brand and think it's a great fit for their store, and they think they'll be able to sell it and resonate with their customers, then they'll especially won't care how old or how young you are, because they're already infatuated with your brand.
The other thing to jump in on is, yes, retailers, if you go and you're trying to present and sell your product into stores and they have 1,000 stores and the order quantity are going to be significant, yes, the retailer wants to know you have the financial wherewithal to do that because they don't want to put a product up, start to advertise it, and then you can't deliver it because you don't have the funding. That's always hard. But what I would encourage you to do from a business standpoint is if you start on the digital side of the business and do e-com, where you can provide the drop ship or direct ship to the consumer, you're taking the risk by having the inventory to satisfy their customer. The buyer isn't buying it the way they would if they were buying it for stores. So the cost of entry, the size of entry, you can be a lot smaller and be able to get your product up there and then have it perform. And then the beautiful thing about doing the e-com business and doing it that way is they see the sales. The Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, they do the advertising. You're not spending a dime advertising and on social media and Facebook and all the different channels. They are, because they're trying to entice you as a customer. So if you start in that venue and you perform and the customer likes your product, then you have proof of performance. Then you can take your product and your message and go to the retail management and say, okay, please look at my numbers. You don't have to be a salesman and BS it or spin it. They can see the facts right there and they can make a business decision to say, hey, we want to put you in 10 stores or we want to put you in 50 stores. So part of that is getting, the opportunity to prove your concept is viable. And that's why direct to consumer fulfillment is really the fastest way to do that rather than trying to buy your way into a retail environment, because that takes a lot of money, a lot of time, and retailers now are getting squeezed, especially when you look at all the current political environment. So I'm an advocate of digital, drop ship to fulfillment, to customers. There's a lot easier way to go today.
Thank you, Steve. Justin, Anna, do you mind popping the link into the chat of how people can connect with you afterward? I know a lot of people are dropping their emails here, but as Anna mentioned, just as being a community member of FFC, you can utilize this this form to set up a call, an initial consult. So yes, click that link that Justin just dropped there. And then I saw someone ask, is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. I will post it inside of the 10th house later today and then publicly later this week. And then let me just make sure that I'm not missing any other questions. Okay.
I've also gotten like 10 to 12 notifications that people are adding me on LinkedIn. So message me on LinkedIn,
Yes.
email me, text me, maybe not late at night, but yeah, definitely reach out. I will get back to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, DigitBridge. We really appreciate you all, partnering with us for this event and answering these questions. It's been so helpful. We're working with DigitBridge, by the way, on a checklist for you all to utilize. It's basically a distilled version of what you've learned in this event and our last event with them. So keep an eye out for that. Yes, I'm seeing in the chat, love this. This was great. Thank you. This was awesome. This is great. Yes, this was great. I appreciate everybody who joined us here live. Thank you to the folks who are watching on the replay. And thank you again to DigitBridge. I will drop that FFC chat in the replay as well. So for those of you who can't see the chat, don't worry, it will be just above or below this video that you're watching. Thank you again, everyone. I will see you all. When will I see you next? I'll see you next week in our office hours session for our 10th house members. So see you all soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you very much. Great to meet everyone.
Thanks, Steve. Bye.